fulfilling all your wishes. You could design for yourself what would be the most ecstatic life.
Yeah, guess I gotta get up from the jump.
Staying with us, Trinidad and Tobago. Approximately 7 minutes after the hour of 5 o'clock, we have inside with us Len Capital Certificates. How you doing?
I'm great, Aisha Wells, and how are you today?
I am awesome. How are you?
Nice to hear that. So where are we going today?
Well,
I took your question.
yeah. I mean, we just go all over the place. So where you want to start?
Well, I was asked off air to talk about, when is the right time to scale your business. And due to the fact that most entrepreneurs base some of their decisions or lack of decisions on fear, I believe an entrepreneur needs to have certain base foundations, certain mantras that help you throughout situations. One of my personal favorites, the acronym for FAIR, means false evidence appearing real. And if something is false but it appears so real to you, you wouldn't understand that it's fake. And that's what fear does. Any business owner, any entrepreneur, if you don't have what I will call a healthy dose of fear or healthy dose of paranoia, you shouldn't be in business.
Interesting.
Because, as I said last week, I said there are two types of people in this business world. There are what we would call the madmen, and the other side of that is the man who operates on faith. Now, if you understand the definition of the both, it's one and the same. Because if you go back to the Bible, whether you're religious or not, when you decide to follow Jesus, as they said, and walk on water, that is something a madman would say, and it will also take a madman to do it. But the faith Jesus would have had by saying to the guy, look, walk on water, and also for John, I believe it was, who decided to follow him and walk on the water, they would say he's a madman as well. But he operated on faith. Opening a business, operating a business, or even deciding to do so takes a certain amount of faith. I would say it takes a lot of faith, because when you think about these technological companies or certain inventions that are out there, or eating establishments, membership shopping establishments that are very huge in the industry, they operate on a large amount of faith. Now, I am from Trinidad and Tobago, just as most of our listeners are.
Right.
And in the Trin City area, you would know there was always Trin City Mall. Over the road from Trin City a couple of years ago, could have been about 3 or 4 years ago, they opened a few food establishments. Now, Trin City Mall, as most of us know, already had food places where you can go and sit and eat and dine, restaurants of that nature. The place over the road, and I'm talking about literally meters, you can walk from one destination to the next, decided to open their doors to the public over the road from Trin City Mall. Now, the average person looking on will say, well, whoever is doing that has to be a madman. Because why would you try to compete with Trin City Mall?
Exactly.
Trin City Mall is not what we would say a snotty nose company,
Nah,
right?
they're around long.
They are around long time. They
They have
have
a reputation.
correct. But this group of companies decided, look, we're opening right over the road from them. And when they did so, most people would know, and if you ever in the Trin City area, you can check it out for yourself. When they opened, the car park was filled with cars. And if you pass there now, it's still filled with cars. So it says to me that if you were to listen to the average person, that will tell you, no boy, that's not making sense, that's fair. But it was a false evidence appearing real. When you opened and you realize, look, there are people who are willing to come to your establishment. Because I remember calling a good friend of mine at the time, he's also a great businessman, and I asked him, I said, when they opened, did the building come with cars? Did it come with its own shoppers? He said, well, what kind of question is that? I said, because, if we were to tell someone, look, let's start a business over the road from Trin City Mall, they'll say it never worked. Yeah. But there it is, somebody was brave enough, somebody had enough faith to believe that what they were doing, they did it at a very high standard. And it's been working out. It's been 4 years, pandemic, through pandemic, post-pandemic, and they're still open. So I will say to anyone, as you asked earlier, when is the right time to scale your business? As soon as you ask yourself that question, is the right time. Yeah. If you ask yourself,
Explain this.
because, okay, let's take, for example, like I saw, if I could mention it, Robert and his wife playing Ludo. Now, they may not notice I'm very observant.
You observe everything.
I observe everything. So I noticed them playing the game of Ludo. And let's say when I decided to invent the game, I restricted it to my friends and family alone. And I didn't decide to make it a public game or anything of the sort. What would have happened is that today Robert and his wife would not have been able to enjoy the game of Ludo. And it is as simple as that when you own and operate a business. We touched on the hustler mentality versus the body of the entrepreneur a couple of weeks ago. And a hustler would always ask, should I scale my business? An entrepreneur would ask, when can I scale my business? Because I don't want to have any business, whether it be Land Capital Certificates or the other group of companies underneath us, only limited to the Port of Spain area or the Chaguanas area. There's a saying that I also have, a mantra base that says, think global, not local. And that is one of the mindsets that I live with every day. So if any business that I get involved in, if I cannot think global, I don't think about the business. Because it means I'm going to be limited in the way I want to do things and the way I want to operate. And for me, which is why I would have said just now, if you think about scaling, scale. Because that's the only way you can hit your targets. Sometimes we think, okay, I have one establishment, but I want to make $1 million. I like that number. I want to make $1 million a month. How do I go about it? And we believe, okay, if I have a store, let's say 100 feet by 100 feet, we want to fill the store to the roof with items. And we believe if I have $1 million worth in items at one location, then I can make $1 million. But what if you have $150,000 worth in items at 10 different locations? Because one, like me, I don't like the Port of Spain and environs for one reason. There's nowhere to park. When I come out my nice vehicle, I don't want to park down the street and walk 15-20 minutes in the hot sun to get a product when I can go to another area that probably has less traffic. And there are a lot of people that think like me or has the ability, the capabilities to afford a drive-through. Or maybe other establishments in the vicinity, in the building, that I can patronize as well. Or do some window shopping while I'm on my way to purchase this product and or service. So scaling would allow me to do so. It would allow more customers the opportunity and the availability to get to my product. As opposed to just saying, well, look, I have a store or a booth in a particular mall and we have everything there. I am not, if I live Barrackpore, I don't care how good your product is. I'm not leaving Barrackpore to come to Port of Spain for a product that may be $5 cheaper, because that's what we say, well, my product is $5 cheaper. The diesel alone, the gas alone, the time alone is going to cost me a lot more to leave Barrackpore to come to Port of Spain to purchase the product. However, if your product or service was available, let's say in San Fernando or in the environs of Barrackpore, I may be willing to purchase. And this is the reason for scaling, understanding that to get to your targets, sure. Wow, yeah, because I remember I was telling you I had the issue with the WhatsApp. Yeah, so in order to grow your business, scaling is one of the number one things. When an entrepreneur starts a business, he never thinks one location. Most entrepreneurs, and you know us by the way we speak, like if you spoke to me, I would tell you my desire has always been to have 4 to 5 locations. Port of Spain, Curep, Arima, San Fernando, Tobago.
Yeah.
Always been. And that's my local locations, my local aspirations, as it were, where I would want locally. Then when we start to talk further into when the business grows and I have encompassed the market of Tobago, I would now start to tell you I would love to go up the islands. So I would choose the nearest island here based on flight time, and I would start traversing there. So I'd put my, I think when I had checked it the last time, Barbados was one of the closer ones.
Yeah.
And cost-wise as well. So I would want to open a location in Barbados, and then I would go St. Vincent, and then Jamaica. And this is how I think. And before long, Land Capital Certificates will be an internationally recognized name because of how we think. And that can only be achieved through scaling. And if I was to think, well, I don't know what the market would do, and I'm not sure how it will respond. What if we have another lockdown? I would call this a fallacious statement that we think the groups of companies or the conglomerates, because of their science, they understand business very well. They don't. If you know how they invest their money and where they invest their money, I can tell you, they put their monies with what we call the madmen. The men who just on a whim woke up one morning and decide, look, I want to buy this social media giant because I have some extra few billions in my bank account. Let me send them a tweet and let them know I'm interested in purchasing your company. The conglomerates will not do that because they operate on science. They would, and if you think about it, we always talk about the richest men in the world, not the richest companies of the world. A company would invest where these men are, not vice versa. So when you have, these big guys purchasing these companies, part of their assets and liabilities, part of their accounting status would be these bigger companies investing in them, but a very small portion. The guys who own 90 to 95% of their businesses, they do crazy things like I mentioned last week. You sold a company for 10 million and you took that 10 million and invested in another company and went by your friend to sleep on his couch. That's madman actions. A conglomerate will not do that. One, they have too many red tape or bureaucracy, as we would call it. They would have to get too many approvals to make a crazy decision like that, and they lack the flexibility to do so. He was able to do so, and hence the reason he's the richest man in the world today.
Yeah. All eyes are on him.
All eyes are on him.
Everything he does now.
And I mentioned him last week, and if anyone listened and they went and they would have bought stock in his company last week, it went up, I believe, $12 or $13 within 7 days. And they had to lock it down because obviously, it's popular, it's trending. And I also said that when a company becomes popular or trending, the man who wants to now run and buy stocks, you're not an investor. The persons who invested there before he decided to buy that company for $44 billion will become billionaires once that sale is completed. And then you'll hear about them. They will start to do programs on the radio. They'll have programs on YouTube talking about how they made an investment in this company, and this crazy dude just woke up one morning and bought it for $44 billion, and they may have invested $3-4 million in it, and now they're worth $150 million. And they are the real investors. The person who bought the stocks when it was popular, you might make a couple $100,000.
But nothing much at all.
Nothing much. And if you think about it, somebody will say, look, Lensa Campbell Aisha is $100,000 a lot of money. Not compared to $44 billion. $100,000 is, I don't even know what would you phrase that? If you have an option to earn $44 billion, or your company sold for $44 billion, as opposed to earning $100,000. That's I think that's depression. Yeah, that's like, I would probably go into some sort of depression knowing that, wait, I could have had a taste of that $44 billion, and all I'm settling for now is $100,000. And that's what we tend to do because we don't understand how investment really works. And when they started this company years ago, I think when I did the research, it was 12 or 13 years ago they started. They didn't know it would be sold for $44 billion. They had no clue. Most of these companies are started in a room no bigger than this. And today they own buildings, they own parkways, they own expressways, they own hotels, they own malls, they own shopping centers. But they started right here. And they are being sold for $44 billion. So just imagine if you own, let's say, 25% of that company. If my maths is good, you'd walk home with close to $10 billion. When your investment into it may have been close to $1 million or upwards of $1 million. And you're now going home with $12 billion if you own 25% of that company. And that is what I want persons to understand. So if you ask me, should I scale my business? Yeah. If you're not interested in scaling business, get out of it.
I understand.
And this is what these big companies do as well. They take smaller companies that don't wish to scale and they buy them out. We have companies right here in Trinidad that has done it. The baking company that sells the bread that a lot of us don't like, but it's easily available in most groceries and shops on our way home. They stand up on the side of the road selling it to us. They buy out any bakery that starts to make a name for itself. They show up and they buy them out because they understand that either one, the person doesn't want to scale, two, don't understand how to scale, or three, they probably just can't afford to, or they think they can't afford to scale, or they shouldn't scale. That company shows up, knocks on their door, offers them a price, and boom, they are now a conglomerate, as we would call them. But these companies understand what it takes to invest, why they should invest, why they should scale, why they should advertise. I've always said it. Admire some of these companies that we see every day. The big ones always advertise. They don't need to. There's a fast food chain that advertises everywhere. On your laptop, on your phone, you're driving on
And
the
you
highway.
ask yourself why?
Because I'm the biggest and I want to stay the biggest.
Yeah.
My dad will always say, uneasy is the head that wears the crown. So
You're
you,
always looking for competition,
Of
even when
course.
there is none.
and exactly. So if I always keep myself ready, you can never, and I call it a healthy dose of paranoia. You're always paranoid that, hey, somebody might be coming up. So let's advertise. Let's keep it big. Let's, this young, our soca artist here who did that beautiful song for, I think it was soca this year, right? 2022. She's now an ambassador for that water company that you have next year console. And I'm sure when she wrote that song, she's probably thinking, hey, I'm going to get a call and do some advertising and the dollars would be flowing in. Because I've seen, I don't even know how big that poster is on the highway, probably a 30 by 10 or something banner on the highway. So again, you have to know and understand what it takes to scale, why you should scale, and don't ever wonder. Yes, scale. Scale right now, scale today, scale as big as you can, as fast as you can. But there are other principles to it. It's not just say, all right, I'm going to open a location and, you know, it's done at a poor level or substandard level. These conglomerates, as we call them, they maintain a very high standard or higher than their competition. And it allows them to stay in the race. That same fast food outlet, I would always say their taste is not the best, but it's consistent. And it's also dependable. You can get it almost everywhere in Trinidad. I don't know how many locations they're up to now. They open 24/7 in some places, which is why they stay number one.
Well, people, you feel free to call us. I'm getting some messages online. They're asking us for a number for Learn Capital Certificates. I'm going to put it in the chat, so give it to us.
Sure. Our number to call is 324-LEN. That's 324-5366. You can also search for us. You just type in Len Capital. That's LENN Capital on Google, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, on all the social media platforms. You're going to get information about us. If you call 324-LEN and you wish to speak to me, just ask anyone who answers that phone. Is it possible I can speak to Mr. Campbell or have him call me back?
Gotcha.
I need some advice, because we often think that consultation is only for business. But consultation works very good for personal as well. And when you're into the world of business, I mean, what this guy is doing right now, I would tell most persons, he's not operating out of business. He's not thinking about business side of it. But because he's so versed at what he does, everything he touch will be money.
Caller, you're live.
Right, good afternoon, Machel. Good evening, after 6, sorry.
Hi, how are you?
The Learn Capital.
Good
Just want to
evening.
compliment him, you know, as a reservoir of knowledge, you know, that he dispensed to the public. Warren Buffett made a statement that getting into business is not no great science. He said two things, a rational mind and plenty common sense. In the sense of a rational mind, he say when take a 100-ton truck and go cross a bridge that's saying 10 tons to pass over. And he
Sure.
said that's basically business in the simple way, a rational mind. What do you think about that? Thanks, brother, for the knowledge.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, Mr. Buffett, he's one of the guys that I admire. In the way he does business, most persons would know he has 92 companies under his belt. And if he says that, he makes a lot of sense. Trying to take a 10-ton truck and drive it over a 1-ton bridge doesn't make sense. And a rationally minded person would understand that. A businessman would see an opportunity. Let's say there's a 1-ton bridge and he owns a piece of land next to that bridge. He's going to build a bridge that can facilitate 10 tons and charge a toll. and he becomes a businessman, and we say, oh, he's great at what he does, and he's a visionary. But he saw that there was a problem, and he didn't decide to complain about it and say, well, no, the government needs to do this, and the 1%ers need to do that. He said, you know what, I own that piece of land, or maybe I can figure out who owns the piece of land next to the bridge, and I'm gonna...
You see this?
No, I didn't see it.
Newsday, 3 hours ago.
It says...
Secretary and CEOs are claiming that Trinis aren't
investors.
just savers.
That's true.
Today's my next topic, eh?
Yes.
Find this article, read it,
I would.
and let me discuss it.
I would.
What does
And
that mean for our economy?
it's
our
sad.
future?
And I've been saying
You're
that.
admitting it now in the papers.
Yeah, I've been saying that we don't understand what investing is. And we don't have, I mean, if you're in with Lend Capital, I can tell you you're in a great space. But most other companies, conglomerates, they don't have the capacity to flex and make decisions and the adaptability that is required to become, as great as they would like to be. They follow the trends. That's what companies usually do. They jump on the bandwagon, as I would call it. Lend Capital Certificates is not like that. We understand what investing is. We've done, when we did the research, over 65 years of knowledge on how to invest, where you should invest, how much you should invest, the timing to invest. And I can tell you it's every day. As soon as an opportunity presents itself, you take advantage of it, and then you learn. We may say, well, okay, I invested one when I lost, but that's learning. And you learn more from losing than from gaining. And Warren Buffett also said as well that he don't talk much about the losses that he's made. Everybody focuses on how much money he's made, and he don't focus on the losses. He focuses on what his next step is and how much money he can make from his next project or his next venture. So, continuing along the topic of him, I would say he's a good man to follow. Lend Capital Certificates. My name is Leinster Campbell. I'm a great man to follow as well. If you need information as to how to invest, why you should invest, saving, I've heard someone said it, and I think when I first came on the program, I said that persons would say to me, no, I save for a rainy day. And I remember asking one young lady, I said, in some parts of the world it rains every day. So what are you going to do then? The man who has options invested. He started investing small, he learned, he made earn money, he invested, and that investment gave him options that he can now do different things. He can buy cars, he can buy homes, he can buy businesses, whatever his passion is. He can, like us, train people how to own and operate businesses, purchase companies, teach them how to do business, how to operate at the level and the capacity that we do. So there's a lot of different formulas, but it's very simple. And you don't have to open a business to be a business owner. For example, the wheel was already invented. Or as the example I was just using with the bridge. You don't need to invent a smaller truck that could carry 10,000 tons or 10 tons. You can probably do a bridge that takes 10 tons. So there are simpler ways, and that's how business persons operate. Or that might be another idea. A guy would make a 1-ton truck that size, use different materials that could take the capacity of 10 tons. But then it still can't cross the bridge, because if the bridge can only hold one ton at a time, it's the same issue you're going to run into. So that's what business is about, and understanding that, seeing your vision. And I would say to all entrepreneurs, when you're into business, don't listen to the naysayers. If you believe that it can work, if you think you're crazy, go out and do it and try it. Even if you fail at that business, you don't lose. That's another base that I have. I don't ever lose. Either I win or I learn. And once you start having these sort of mantras, this billionaire mindset, as it were, the outcome will definitely be success. And the billionaire mindset, sorry.
Let's see who's there. Call, are you live?
Yes, Aisha. And this is the gentleman there.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hearing people at telling Kumbala one time, we used to tell him, clothes hangers and stuff, we don't like it. And he told them, saving money has no value. Using up the money has the value. And I never forget that. When I went to live in Providence, Rhode Island, I told a man that an Stephanie watchman. And after that, he always, every time I pass, he always told me, tell me something. Because saving money has no value. If you have $10,000 in the bank, and a breakdown you're selling for $10,000. Then you go with $10,000 somebody buys it already. So your money in the hand is all better than money in the bank also. Because they have better value. They can always get something. When you go for the money in the bank, somebody doesn't pay for what you have. So have money in your pocket at all times. That is the bank has nothing in there. Have no profit in the bank. Thank you.
Wow. I can't help but pay attention to Machel changing his brand from Machel Monday to Millie, an event where he goes to separate countries around the world, books out a hotel there, and his fans follow him for a weekend of activities from soca, music, you name it. So he's showing room by room videos of what's going on. So it's the first day is today. Let me just give you a tour. Machel is a brander. You know?
Of course.
And this entire experience, course, that's where he's heading next, by the way.
To Cancun.
This entire experience costs persons $5,000 US. He gave them a year to prepare, and every room is sold out.
See?
Trainees have boarded that flight today.
Of course, and you know why? Because if you look at him, what Machel does, he grabs attention. And his service is impeccable. I've been to one of his shows in the Madison Square Garden, and he is the only local person, meaning from the Caribbean, not from America.
This is for his pool party this evening.
Right, that was able to sell out a show at the Madison Square Garden at the standard and the level at which he does things. So his team...
Listen, he's showed you every step of the way. So there's going to be a parade. Tribe is there with him. Patrice Roberts, Voice. He take Carnival from Trinidad and carry it to Mexico for a weekend.
Yeah.
All inclusives, you name it. What you would expect to get at a Carnival experience in Trinidad for a month, he puts it in one event. This was the band's rehearsing yesterday. He shows you everything.
Yeah.
He even yesterday, I not even in Millie, and I hear saying, Lord, what did I do? So this is his management team.
You see what I said?
Getting ready the day before to prepare for guests arriving. Tribe doing their costumes, packages and display. As you reach with your room service, your costume is delivered to your room. All of that is included in the overall thing.
Of course.
You could tell me this man moved the event from Trinidad to a whole other country, and his fans followed him.
You know what song I love by Machel the most, and I always said is when he was at his highest, is that song he sang with Desha Garcia, where they said the was calling him a madman, he wasn't shaving his beard.
Yes.
And they said Machel is a madman, and I just proved it. There are two types of people in this world. Madmen and men who have a lot of faith to run and operate businesses.
So when your country decides I'm not keeping a carnival this year,
no problem.
No worries.
Fix
all you
it.
want to fit, all you have a year to plan.
Exactly. And it's going to be safe.
Everybody has to be tested to get into the hotel.
Right.
There's no violence because everything is on one compound and one ground. The car park is there for the big trucks, and you can run around the car park whole day.
And I'm telling you an experience that you've never gotten before. Yeah, Machel is a madman. I agree. I like him. And that is what it takes to be an entrepreneur.
And we were talking about expanding. You think when because he was in the height of his career with Machel Monday, he could have sold that for 500 more years.
Yes.
But something in him said, you know what? And I know what it was, because being in the industry you understand. In his mind, he saw his numbers attending his events getting a little bit smaller. He was paying attention to the crowd.
You have to. Drunk or sober, mind your business. My mom always says that.
Young people started to go to the Zessin Fets and soca, tried to take a little dive.
Right.
So he moved with the cheese. Let me put it that way.
Yeah. And do the maths.
Change the whole game. Who could compete with that now?
No. And you'd be second to the party. He's already done it. So you have to join him, or you're second to the party, and you don't want to be second behind him.
Of course not.
So have you bought your ticket?
Me, I here in Trinidad walking hard and watching people putting on pride costume in Cancun. This started today.
And this is why there's another, I call it a malicious statement, meaning that's something people should not say. That statement when you say things are hard, how much you said was for a ticket?
$5,000 US.
You sure?
Yeah.
Not Guyanese, not...
No, US dollars.
Monopoly
they
money.
Take loan for this,
But, this
but they used to take loan for Carnival. Anyway, that's why I asked my friend who went. A normal girl, she's from Mova, public servant. I saw her shopping all through town to get things for white costume and for this, and he have everything. And I'm asking her, I say, but lover, it's 5,000 US to go there. How you manage? She said, girl, when I study how much money I used to spend from January to February and all them all-inclusive and all them little events and things, it really worked up to the same thing. So I just take my loan and say, you know what, I'm going to give myself this experience.
And then you talk to persons and they say, well, I couldn't get $35,000-$40,000 to start a business or to make an investment. And they will tell you, why don't you have an investment for $200 or $300? But you take $40,000, because that's just for the ticket, right?
Yeah.
Is it inclusive of airfare?
No, inclusive of everything. 5,000 is room. They have different prices, mind you. 5,000 is lease.
The lease, okay.
Right, so you'll get probably a standard size room with all the activities. Your costume may be a little scaled down compared to those who would have paid, let's just say, 10,000 US.
Right, correct.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So yeah, she got the lower package. But yet, you have access to the same things, just you ain't going to be in the VIP section.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes, understood. And that's...
5,000 US, I want to be in the VIP on top of the stage. Listen.
You want to be drinking when they hand Machel his tea, you want your tea one time. Yeah,
but
exactly.
Took it.
They took it, and this is why I would say to the persons listening who wondered just now, should I scale my business? Should I try my new idea? Yes. And Machel has what I would call momentum. He's been doing it. What age he sang Too Young to Soca, do you know?
About 5 or 4.
4 years old.
Yeah,
and he's,
age.
what, 50 now? Close to 50?
Machel could be for 47.
So let's say for 42 years of momentum takes you to this.
Yeah, the high tea career, Machel. After this, Machel.
Yeah? Who knows what he'll do next?
Listen, first Machel happy. Machel buy a piece of land up in Toko, pour up a wooden house, and he and his wife lives off the land. They are farmers now.
They're farmers, yeah?
And everybody thought he was mad when he do that too. You cannot buy a condo in one Woodbrook place. You
Why?
can buy a house here, a house there, and you go in the bush to live.
Because he's a madman and he's smart. When the pandemic hit, did you think he was wondering?
The man was making cocoa.
Exactly.
The man was growing cocoa up in the country, showing you how he planted the cocoa and they call him a madman.
So, I'm right.
When you see
I'm saying.
Machel, he is the least dressed artist. Machel will wear sneakers, Adidas. He doesn't like big brands. I noticed that with him. A regular t-shirt and tie a rag on his head and he wave. Machel can afford to wear red bottoms and Louis.
He doesn't need to. He's his own brand. And it's the same with me. You've known me. You've seen me out of what I love, my professional attire, and it's the same. I'm always branded in my own way. I have nothing against the big brands, but you need to understand, if you have a goal in mind, if you're that madman or you have that amount of faith, it has to start with you. I can't be preaching lend capital certificates all over the place and then I'm
advertising somebody else. Closing comments, Len.
My closing comments today would be, if you're a madman or a madwoman, if you have faith or you need the right direction with your faith, feel free. Just give me a call. I have customers that just want to randomly talk, a 5-minute, 10-minute conversation, maybe about an idea they have, one issue they've been going through. Feel free to give us a call. We understand, even though our company, our base is finances, we understand that investment is not just only about money. And one thing you would learn from having a conversation with me, that there's more to life than just attaining money. The billionaire mindset doesn't require or doesn't only reference to dollars and cents. It references to a mindset that you need to have. And the billionaire mindset for now is the highest point. If we have our first trillionaire in the next couple of years, we may have to change the name of this program.
I think so.
But for now, this is the billionaire mindset. My name is Leinster Campbell. I thank you very much for listening to me today. And how would I say that? I had the pleasure of having the young, the lovely Miss Aisha Wells in my company today, as always.
Thank you.
That I better watch what I say and watch what I do. Remember to pray and watch how I move. I got too much at stake, so I cannot lose. In this game that we play, I got something to prove.